We go. All right. Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday to you. Welcome to House of Miracles monthly mental wellness presentations. We thank you for taking the time to join us this morning, and we hope that you all get something very beneficial and useful out of this roundtable discussion. We decided to do a roundtable discussion to open things up so that we can allow some additional input from everyone. Give everyone a chance to share a little bit more about a couple of different topics that we have. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to my wife, Audrey, the moderator for today's roundtable discussion. Uh, Thank you very much again for coming out, and we hope you enjoy yourselves this morning.
Thank you, Xavier. So we just figured we have a few topics to discuss for emotional wellness. And then our three topics for emotional wellness, if you did not see the flyer, is finances, affordable housing, and food prices with finances. The second topic is health, eating habits, exercising, staying active. And then the third topic is politics, news, consumption, too much or not enough, or what's going on in your community. So we know all three of these topics affect everybody in different ways, but what's the emotional wellness behind it? So before we get in the first topic, I just want to show you a slide where it's information that comes from actually, a great resource. So let me try and share my screen real quick if I can find it. There we go. And then, so this is just a clip that came from HUD about housing insecurity, promoting mental health through housing stability. You guys can read it, or I can read it. Housing insecurity in all its forms can negatively affect human health. So they talk about like living conditions, eviction, homelessness, high housing costs, or a lack of affordable housing can force households to make difficult sacrifices, paying rent, foregoing medicines, medical appointments, and healthier food options. And this was interesting once I read it. In some cases, households resort to doubling up with other households, leading to overcrowding living conditions. So just understanding how the housing market is increasing everywhere, especially in Phoenix as we see it. Just wanted to kind of give a clip about some housing before we get into conversation. I think my next slide goes to, oh yeah, I'll read this since it's finances, or you all can read this, about the high cost of groceries, how that mental stress can be on us. As you can read, InsightGroceryBusiness.com gives some stats, as you can see. I think what really stood out to me, where is it? The company found that trying to make money last is weighing heavily, with 70% of respondents saying paying bills on time and purchasing necessities like food are challenging stress levels. So you guys get an opportunity to see that, and I'll stop sharing and we can just provide some discussion on that. Just go back, let you see the housing real quick. All right. So finances, emotional wellness, talking about the housing and food prices. What does anyone, I know when I go to the store, I guess I could say I'm fortunate enough to be able to still purchase food at the high prices. However, it does weigh on you, because I do think about, whoa, look at these eggs, or look at the, packs of chicken that's $20, or eggs, that's 12 dozen eggs is, $6. I forego buying some stuff just because, and like I say, we are okay with buying it. We may not like it, but to think about others that have to think about, should I buy the pack of chicken, or should I get my medicine, or should I get this for the kids, school stuff, or should I buy this pack of ground beef? So that I know has to weigh heavily on a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I'll just pause right there. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I know what I've had to do. I definitely will shop the circulars every week. It's just, because I know I've got to make sure I got meat. So that's usually where my focus is when it comes to looking between my four: Safeway, Fry's, Food City, and Ranch Market. So I will shop all four of those places, like I said, especially meat, and try to get everything for meat that I can on sale. I have gone more to doing recipes so I can make sure that I've got enough of everything, for Monday, for Tuesday, for Wednesday. Then if I have to go back to the grocery store on Wednesday for the rest of the week, just so, some things aren't going to waste because it's getting old, even to that degree. But you have to figure out how to be a little bit more resourceful. And then, I was just thinking that second slide that said, okay, when you bring households together so you can save in housing, but think even how are you saving on food costs? Because you still got to feed all those people. So, in one aspect, it's great because you might be combining two mortgages or two rents into one, and everybody's scratching each other's back and helping out from that sense. But then it comes to food. Everybody under that roof still has to eat, and that's an abundance of food.
Yeah. I think it also has to do with habits that we've had in terms of buying food in bulk, and whether you are accustomed to doing that, you have to change the way you buy food too. And that's kind of hard for some people, they just run to the store, run to the store, run to the store, run to the store. They don't buy in bulk at all. And it's a long-term habit that you have formed, and not buying food in habit. So that has to change too. So people going through change in how they buy food, whether they're buying processed food or trying to buy fresh fruits and vegetables, all of that is factored in there. With inflation, it just makes you change a lot of things that were just habits for you. Because and the reason why I say that is because I noticed one time when I was in California and I went to grocery outlet, that there was a sister there, and she had, I think, about 3 kids with her. And I'm not blaming her, because I did the same thing. You shop where you can afford, but you're not necessarily buying good food. That's another aspect of it, of buying proper food. But she had a basket full of processed food. And when I did go to Whole Food, I saw different people buying fresh fruits and vegetables more than processed food. So my point is that inflation causes a change in you and how you buy food. And if you're just running to the store all the time, then you're wasting money and you're not getting what you should, to last you. And cooking pots of food, not just, frying something for right now, but cooking pots of food, that helps too.
That's a good point.
Yep. So I agree with everyone that prices have increased tremendously. I'm kind of glad that I don't have a vehicle. I do catch the bus to and from work. It's a noticeable change, but we have three sources of income, so it's not as hard hitting as I'm sure it is for others. What's happening now, my we're trying to really change our eating habits. I got a real, my guy, he's a real really health conscious. Diala, my son, is getting a little overweight. And it's up to me. Now it's just the time I have to take. You know, it's easier to get the processed stuff, just put it in the microwave, go, you know, but health-wise, it's not healthy at all. So now what I find myself having to process, you know, you can't get to cook and eat healthy, you have to process. So I'm in the kitchen. It's a day by day process, but I'm trying.
Mhm. If I could just touch on this, and then Xavier, you can chime in, because I think we should probably think about that. The shopping where you can afford, buying process, buying in bulk. I think, like Amber kind of mentioned, I mentioned, we are probably better able to afford that. To, like you say, we see the high prices, but we fortunately can still buy it. Think about those families who cannot, with the kids, who have to probably buy processed foods, or maybe can't. I know I hate going to the grocery store. So when I leave the grocery store, my bill is going to be $400 all the time, but I don't go back every week. So if I spend $400 or $500 on groceries, they probably won't see me for 3 weeks. But that's how my bill looks when I go, because I don't like going. But I know some people cannot do that. It's just no way affordable for them to buy like that. They may have to buy 2 meals and go back in 2 days and buy again. Yeah, Xavier.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I agree with everything everyone has said. I would just come from a different aspect, of more of the mental or the psychological, the emotional aspect of it. And I think, Mom, you hit on a good point about habits. You know, like they say, like you do something for 30 days, it creates a habit. So same thing with going to the store. Like Myrtle was talking about, habit of doing a circular shopping, and that's a habit for her. So it's easy for her to do that. So that's all mental. It's all a psychological thing. It's like thinking, how do I feel about, my feelings, and then the actions result in actions. So she's thinking about, going to these different stores and how that's going to benefit her and the family, and then how that makes her feel as a result of doing that in that way, and then the end result of going out and doing it. So I would just say that, because another point I like to make is that even those of us that are fortunate to have a few more, like Amber was saying, hey, there's 3 streams of income in the house, so we're better able to get, the food that we want. But still, going back to some things that, like Mom said and Audrey said, is that if our mindset is still to buy processed food, so we'll just have more money, but we'll still be eating unhealthy, which will affect us, mentally, as far as we'll be sluggish, we're tired, we having to buy more medicine and things of that nature because of what we're putting into ourselves. So I think that's the part of it, along with the folks that have a little bit of resources of income. They got to be more careful about what they buy, and like Audrey said, how often that they buy things, because they got to divide what little money they have into other necessities. And so that's why resources are so important. So I'll land my plane there.
That's a good point. Resources. I think in Myrtle, that's good. I used to do coupons a lot. I just, and I don't as much anymore, maybe because my whole mental is that I hate the grocery store. So any part of it, I don't want to do. But finding the resources, because there are, and I think I have a few on my phone of some of the places that have been giving away food boxes, and it has nothing to do with income. So I think maybe just following like if the churches or whoever are giving away those food boxes, and just really use that as a supplement as well, the resources. Yeah.
And sometimes you can, pair up with another family with the food boxes. So, hopefully things won't go to waste. And it's, because you want to use those resources as effectively and efficiently that you can. But you know what? I have to also find myself, Amber, when I have to do really well with my time, because I'm one of those people, I cook every freaking day. I cook I don't know. My mom did it. I'm not a real big person that's on processed food. If you go look in my freezers, I got more food in the freezer than I probably do in the pantry.
Yep.
But that's just that's how I am. But like Audrey said, cook a little bit in abundance. So we do leftovers. There are folks that don't do leftovers. We do leftovers, and then they don't have a cafeteria at school. So they have to also take food to school that's leftover. And then I had to tell them, don't throw away your food tonight, because you realize that's your lunch tomorrow, right?
Okay.
Don't put it in some Tupperware, because when you get up tomorrow, you're going to be packing the same stuff we had for dinner. So it's just a way of how we've, and maybe I'll expound a little bit. I took in two students from my son's school, because they're from the tribe, they're from Globe. And so they would have to be brought in every day if they didn't have a place to stay, because we live around the corner, maybe 2 miles from the school. So I took in 2 girls where it was just my son and I. So yeah, I've completely had to figure it out. We had to change, but again, it's also, like I said, I cook every day, and if I allowed them to cook, I wouldn't know what's in my fridge to know when I need to shop. So it's a sacrifice, but yeah, it's working out though.
Myrtle, what time is dinner?
Yeah, since she's cooking every day.
Right. We don't have to go shopping anymore.
Yeah, we're going over Myrtle's house today.
Shopping in the freezer, huh? Shoot. That's what we got to do.
And leftovers is important.
Yeah,
I think it all comes down to habit. Whether you have some, like Myrtle says, she can travel. That takes a lot. That affects your emotional wellness too. If you got to go to Fry's, then you got to go to Safeway, then you got to go to Food City, then you got to go, all these different places. You're gonna like, I don't want to do all of that, and I have a car. What about a person who like Am's on the bus, so you're not going to do all of that. And it's just so the availability, where things are, if it's a convenience store or if it's a grocery store, food deserts in our community.
Yeah.
Using coupons. If you grew up using coupons, you might continue that, because we talk a lot about what our moms did. We do too, and that develops habits, and sometimes our habits aren't good for us, but we keep them anyway. I know I do. And so it's just a whole lot that goes through your mind just going to the store to get food. And then when you get there, you better have already hopefully eaten something before you get there, because you might start buying stuff that you don't even need just because you're hungry. Okay. That's what I try to do, is eat something before I go, because they got stuff smelling in the store,
Yeah.
This is really a topic, when you start talking about it, it really is. Lord knows what we're going to come up with housing. Okay.
Yeah, I can't do the 2 stores. I avoid shopping at one store for my emotional wellness. I do not shop at the W store, my grocery shop. I just don't do it, because I need some type of peace while I'm shopping. I don't need to have to ask 10 times for somebody running over my feet. This is for me. So I just avoid it. I have stopped shopping at the W store for a long time. I don't do my grocery shopping there, because for me, it's too much going on. Even if I can save $1 over at that store, it's not, that dollar saving is not worth it to me if I can shop in peace.
Well, what? Talking about the W store, the clearance section is just stuff they're clearing out. It is not discount. Okay. It's not discount.
So again, going back to what I'm just hearing everybody say is going back, circling back again to the emotional wellness and some of the, just listening to the panel here about like Myrtle's explaining what her routine is, Mom explaining what her routine, Audrey explaining what her routine is, Amber, and so on. And so then, I'll interject my response to it with my own is that the emotional part of it or the psychological part is that we all have different tolerance levels. So the important thing is to recognize what your own tolerance is, because it takes patience, it takes tolerance, it takes being assertive, it takes discipline. And then we need to all recognize where our strengths are in those certain character traits and then act on those. So like Audrey said, hey, I go to one store because she knows and she understands what her base is as far as tolerance and stuff. And so she operates on that. So that works well for her. So that equates to a good emotional wellness for her, because like she said, she does that according. So like me, I can go to any store, it doesn't really matter, because unlike her, I don't mind going to the store. It's not like I enjoy and I'm just looking forward to it, but it's more like a task. So that's my mindset. So I go there, and I get things, and between me and her, she'll get the, like her grocery bill when she goes, she gets the bulk of the stuff, and then I may get the remaining little things that we need or what have you and stuff. So we got our own system, but for the families that have less money, finances to do that, still it's about discipline, and it's about, being assertive. And like Myrtle said, it's about finding out about resources and stuff like that. And then hopefully that will help someone's psyche by utilizing resources to get like the food boxes, like Audrey mentioned. That helps them, a person, feel better if they're making use of resources and getting what they need. So I feel better because I'm getting what I need, not for myself, but also for my family.
Yeah.
Well,
Mhm.
Totally agree. So I think that was a good, we can follow up on food, but anybody want to chime in on housing? I know housing is a huge deal, not to say, well, this is not even on topic, so I won't go into it, but I see gas prices are going back up again when they started to drop. And I have to drive every day, so that is an issue. And my car takes 91, so I can't get 87. But anyway, the housing, I know, and working in, a population of individuals needing housing where we help support them with housing, is a big issue. And it goes to the overcrowding part too, of even though they talked about that on the slide about the overcrowding, with housing, and Myrtle talked about with food, that is an issue, because to help out, you might be overcrowded. And then there's a whole nother stress level that comes in with families, even though it's a great help to kind of double up with families if you have that resource, but then there's an emotional wellness probably that comes out of that. So
you know what? Your emotional, even if you have housing, just to know and to see people who don't have housing can affect your emotional wellness too. So it's not always just that, oh, you have a place, so you don't have anything to worry about. To see other people in pain, it affects you, whether you admit it or not. It affects you in some kind of way to see people out, children out, people, and know conversations come up about people not having a place to live, and you see people laying out on the street and all of that. It's not verbal, but it's going inside here. It's going inside here. And you might not think about it anymore, but it's in there.
Yes.
It's in there.
seeing it every day, you are more grateful than you ever, just the gratitude of having a hot shower every day is gratitude.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So, because we're all connected, whether we want to believe it or not, and it might be us tomorrow, we don't know what's going to happen. So, yeah, I believe that things like that do affect you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Myrtle,
Xavier, I think you're gonna say something.
I think, I thought Myrtle, was you gonna say something? I'll wait till after.
Okay.
No,
Uh, Go ahead, Myrtle.
She said
no,
no.
go ahead.
Oh,
No,
okay.
you go right ahead.
Well, I
Go
Right.
can,
ahead, Amber, and we'll let
yeah,
Xavier kind of
yeah,
give us
I can
our.
touch base on the housing thing, especially since in the last, I'd say two years, my rent has damn near doubled. Now I'm in an apartment, and once again, the blessing here is there are three streams of income. Okay. And as I'll look up housing every now and then, the cost of just renting a house is going up. I myself have made the decision that I don't want to buy unless I hit the lottery, of course, but that's a faraway option, but just the cost of moving, okay, that falls in line with the cost of the food and everything. It makes it a little harder to save. And then I'm not very disciplined when it comes to saving. So to get the lump sum to move, it's kind of like I'm in a rut, but everything is paid for. It's kind of like a
Mhm,
comfortable rut.
mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah.
Oxymoron, the comfortable.
Yeah.
Um,
Go
so,
ahead, Xavier.
thank you. So two things. One is real quick back to the comment about what we see in society, like from the comforts of our own apartment or house. The perfect example is that a lot of times here in Phoenix, you just go down to where Cass is down there on Jefferson,
Human
that area.
Service Campus.
Yeah,
Mhm,
you can see that. But like with me and Audrey, when we visit, my hometown where I grew up at in Oakland, California, we go up there, and me and Audrey, we get off the freeway and there's certain exits, and we see all the people camping out and all that. And from growing up there, it's just very sad to see a lot, especially a lot of our people that's living like that. And that's not just in Oakland, it's in other major cities and even smaller cities. But I think Mom made a good point that it does strike you, even though from the comfort that that you have in your own home, to see other people living, if you got a heart and you have sympathy and you just feel for, a lot of us, we just wish that no one else had to live like that, and it's hard, to see that. And like you said, children also suffering, and then men and women suffering. So it is very difficult, and you wish there was something more you could do about it. But as individuals, yeah, we can only do so much, in our own way. The other point, real quick, is about what we talking about what we talking about, the food cost. Something that piggyback on what you were saying, Amber, is that uh, I think one of the things that someone in your position would want to look at is that look at the like you said, the rent goes up, it's going up almost double. So then look at that as far as the cost of renting, or you know being a first time buyer and getting into a home. That would be some of the things that probably the folks that are in the real estate world, they would probably suggest to you some things like that to make some comparisons to help you, because it may be that you're spending more money where you are versus where you could be, something like that. So some things to look at.
And our board member is a realtor, Myrtle.
Mhm.
So she can help you with that. But
Yeah.
at some point later when we will do a housing, we'll get with Myrtle and do a presentation so she can present
Mhm.
on
Oh,
some
Right.
that would be
housing,
wonderful, wonderful.
some housing information to do that.
Yeah.
But I would look at it, Amber, and try, because that is probably emotional distress or things like that, to think about what you want to do, but the unfortunate part is you can't. I would just say, in my opinion, uh uh and Xavier's going to bring somebody on too about financial stuff, is that housing probably will change, and I'm not going to get into that so much because that's not my wheelhouse, but it will change. So I will say try to be proactive instead of reactive, and try to start savings so that if the housing changes within a year and a half, you are setting yourself up already, while there's other things that Myrtle would be able to assist you with as a first-time home buyer and things of that way. So I think our mindset, I think Mom touched on it too, about habits and mindset. We have to change our mindset for a lot of things so that when opportunities happen, we are try to be prepared as much as we can. But Myrtle, if you wanted to chime in, go ahead, please.
Okay, well, I'm sitting here trying to text a client.
Oh, no worries.
Something
But I saw you
we're
go
working
off
on.
mute, so I wasn't sure. But yeah, that is, I mean, the housing price just jumped up, where I saw, like Amber talked about, double. I saw people, you know, having to move because they were renting and their rent just went up. Arizona has no rental guidelines as far as what I know. So if a landlord wants to say in May your rent is $2,000 and then in July it's $3,000, Arizona has no renters, what's the word I'm looking for, Myrtle? They have
Probably
no
some type of a cap or a.
yeah, they have
moratorium. Yeah.
yeah, there's no rental, I can't think of what I'm trying to say, but
Yeah.
it's wide open, basically.
Mhm.
They can do what they want to. So we've had the organization, the social service agency, I saw it from 5 years ago, where they were finding individuals housing apartments. You know, we had a housing navigator that basically talked to all the landlords throughout Maricopa. They have now resulted to finding clients rooms to rent because they cannot afford an apartment on their own. So now we have looked into room rental, which is very unfortunate. And the senior level of homelessness has risen. So the women of seniors has risen, and it's harder for them because their mindset, as I talked about, is, oh, I can't work, I get SSDI, so I'm just going to find an apartment. That's no longer really feasible. If you get $900 or $1,000 a month, we have to try and change their mindset to say, what part-time work can you do to supplement to help you find housing?
Right. Instead of singing that song.
Correct. Well, I mean, that's some good information and good talk on finances. Let me pop over and share my screen to our next topic really quick so we can keep on moving through. That was housing. Physical health. We talk about you know, get moving, emotional wellness. You guys can read that here. Let me move my screen over so I can see a little bit. Research shows a link between an upbeat mental state and physical signs of good health. These include lower blood pressure, reduced risk of heart disease, and healthier weight. I know I was talking with someone the other day, and she told me, she said, I really need to get this weight off of me because it's affecting me emotionally. You know, so I mean, and I heard that and I saw her, you know, I can see her now over the last few days changing like her diet and what she brings for lunch. But to think about the emotional wellness, I think I just kind of sat in that a little bit because she was just, it just really sounded, you know, it just landed with me how she said it. Like, my weight, it's affecting me mentally, you know, just getting out, because we've been in COVID, right? For a couple, you know, we've been in a pandemic and sitting around the house. We got used to not going out probably and staying in. And that probably has affected us emotionally with physical activity.
Well, I want to point out this is that because I'm not a heavy person, my mother wasn't, my father wasn't, my sister and brother are not, you know, it's our gene. But just because you're small doesn't mean you're healthy. And I think we have been programmed to believe that being conscious, you know, being about physical exercise, that it's all about losing weight. But it's not just about losing weight. It's about being healthy. And that's another habit that we have to kind of let go of. Oh, I'm small, so I can just eat anything, put anything in my mouth, No, it's about your body. Whether you are a big boned person, whether it runs in your family to be small or what, it doesn't mean that you are healthy just because you are smaller than somebody else, and yeah, your weight does have a lot to do with whether whether you're going to have heart problems or anything like that. But as human beings, we're all human beings, and so we all have to be conscious about our health. I wish I had started a long time in life, of recognizing that. But when you come up and you eat what is presented to you, you don't know any better. You bring children in the world, then you feed them like you were fed, and so it's like a vicious cycle too. But that's my point. You don't have to be just about it. It's not just about weight, about how big you are. You can be unhealthy. There are sick people right now smaller than me, and they'll never be bigger than me, but they still have health problems.
Exactly. Totally agree. That's why I'm trying to go starting my meatless Mondays. So Mondays I try to exclude no meat. I want to wing myself, even though I only eat, beef, pork, fish, chicken, or whatever. I want to actually really pull out the poultry. That's a hard one for me, I know, because I love chicken wings, but I want to actually move away from a lot of chicken. I want to move away from chicken. So I'll start small, meatless Mondays.
Right,
A
right.
habit. Maybe I'll go it'll be Mondays and Tuesdays, but yeah.
And I think fasting is good too. You don't have to fast for a whole day if you start off. You can fast a half a day, but fasting is good too. And we don't want to do it, but it takes discipline. So then that's emotional. When you start dealing with the discipline that you have, that's emotional too. To try and, because I heard a guy say, "Hey, don't eat sugar for what did he say, 2 days or something?" And I thought about that. Can I go without sugar for a whole day? I can, but I don't want to. I know I can. I think I can, but I don't want to, because it's a habit.
And hopefully that lady that Audrey spoke about, hopefully she's seeing some difference, if nothing else, whether it's her attitude, her personality. Hopefully she'll start to see that change, because and it depends on where you are in your age in your life. It might take a little longer to see the weight drop, and that's not the only result. Like Miss Sharon said, that's not the only result. It really does have to do, and people have to realize that health it should be the bottom line. It shouldn't be because you're skinny, you're fat, or whatever it is. Health is definitely the bottom line, and the reasons why we should do how we eat, how we exercise, even stretching. I have figured out that I need to stretch, so that even when I'm driving and I'm looking to my left and my right, you still gotta make those moves that you used to be free and able to do a lot easier when you were younger. But stretch, and it doesn't have to be completely yoga, but just stretching to keep your body in tune with those movements and making those movements easier.
Yeah, definitely. You make a good point there. Just a couple quick points. Going back to what my mother was saying about the habits. And what I thought about is more like myths or misconceptions that people have about, like you said, the weight differential for someone being, what we say in society, skinny or overweight, or underweight or overweight, And so there's a lot of science and there's a lot of evidence, like the BMI and those types of things, that body body mass
index,
and index, right? That things like that you can use that we can use rather to help us identify where we are individually, but not to go by someone else's standard, but the own standard that we have for ourselves, along with, checkups and physicals and things like that, to the internal things, the things that you cannot see, but things that are happening inside of us. Myrtle, you made a good point, and it made me think about my surgery, about the being able to look to the left and the right, because after my surgery, even to this day, it's still a little more difficult for me to turn left and right because of that spinal surgery I had. So you make a very good point, is that you got to be intentional about doing stretching and doing certain things, because I, after all this period of time, I lost some of that ability, that flexibility. And so what I'm trying to do now is to regain it. So even someone that hasn't had surgery, you can lose that flexibility if you don't use it. So that's a very good point.
They
Yep.
said stretching is first thing in the morning. I try to do it. They said stretching first thing in the morning is really good. And then I drink my water first thing in the morning to refresh, my body. And then the habits, that was a good one, because you used to hear growing up, eat everything on your plate. Well, to me, you don't have to eat everything on your plate. That's me. You don't have, that is, I've heard this is coming from someone who said, I guess maybe they felt while they were overweight because they took that mentality of eat everything off your plate to them in their adulthood and eating everything. I think in portions you can eat, but you may not be able to. Everybody, I can't eat as much as somebody else. So should I push myself to eat everything on my plate because somebody else can eat everything on their plate? I don't think that's a good idea. To having dispelling that. I think we all grew up with kind of somewhere like that, eating everything on your plate.
I usually eat the rest of Audrey's food sometimes, so she don't
I
have
was
to,
gonna say, shoot,
she don't have to worry about that.
All right, it's
Right.
my turn now. I know I'm not gonna want to hear this, but here we go. I know I'm not gonna hear. Everybody's gonna have a comment, especially my sister. Okay, I've had medical insurance now for over 4 years, and I have yet to get a primary care physician. One reason, well, I look at it like this. Okay, I feel fine. I feel fine. Okay, I'm drinking more water. I'm watching my diet. And I guess another little voice is saying, if you go and they run those tests, you're going to have to make some changes. And
There it
I
is.
know I don't want to do that. So I think that's the reason I'm prolonging it.
Well, I applaud you for being honest about it. So that is to know it. I mean, yeah. And you know what? I've had to change too, because the person who I want was not under the insurance anymore. So I'm like particular about who I want to see. So I actually need to go see another OBGYN, and I have a regular doctor that I go to. I just want to change. I want to try to have my doctors kind of reflect what I look like. That's just my personal opinion. They don't have to, but I just like them to kind of look like me a little bit. So Amber, if you want a buddy system for us to look for a new person, I will be your buddy person and we can go.
Okay.
We can go. We
All right.
All right.
She convinced herself that it's just water and diet. So, and then the biggest thing is, like she was honest to say, she don't want to change, and if you keep telling yourself that, and then just the fear of someone telling you
hearing it.
wrong and that you don't want to hear it, but you're a human being on the planet Earth and you can't get by with, you got to know something about your body. And to me, part of that is self-love. If you want to know, but then the other part of it is what Audrey just brought up. You want somebody that you can relate to. And that's what I have. My primary care doctor, her name is Regina Wright, and it's a sister. Okay. And she takes time with me. I'm not in there and out of there. She takes time with me. We talk, she calls me, I call her, and so it's not that doctor-patient relationship that maybe was back in the day, or maybe even now when you go into an institution and they just in and out, in and out, in and out, hurry up and get out of here. Let me give you some pills,
Mhm.
And she'll tell me, she said, I don't want you to be on pills. I want us to watch your diet and let's test and see what happens. I don't want you to be on pill. And I appreciate that from her, because I wanted somebody that I could assist her. I wanted a sister. It's not that I don't trust men. I brought men into the world, but I want a woman that I can relate to and talk to from a woman's point of view. And I know men, they have the medical training and all that, but they're not women. And I was lucky that I got a female Black doctor, and I'm
Oh,
thankful for that.
Mhm.
oh, wow.
Go ahead, Myrtle. Mhm.
No, is she here? Oh, are you here in Phoenix?
Yeah, I'm in Avondale.
You did say that. Okay, what's her name?
Regina Wright.
WR.
WRIGHT.
I think
Regina.
I just wrote it down too.
She's in Tempe, right?
Yeah, she's in Tempe.
Okay, I work in
I
Tempe
take
now,
the
so I
time,
can.
like you take the time to go to different stores to get
I'll
your
be right
food. I take the time to drive to Tempe
Yeah,
to
okay.
go see this doctor, and I'm very satisfied with her. Her husband is her secretary.
Family business.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Okay. So may I add my 2 cents. So it's interesting. So yeah, I definitely about first thing to respond to my aunt, which I since she's younger than me, I always consider her my sister, but I know she's my aunt and I love her dearly and I want her to live as long as possible. But with that type of thought process that you guys already commented on, that could work against her. And so coming from the cognitive part, she has to restructure her thinking in that. Again, we talked about this in the beginning with weight. We all talked about this about just because what we see on the outside is not reflective of what's going on in the inside. And so we got to be just as willing as we trust someone when we take our car or or we get some kind of repair or something like that, and we trust in different folks who are professionals who we come to understand that they're knowledgeable about certain things outside of ourselves that know more about certain things about whether it's medical or dental or whatever than ourselves. And then we got to, we need to put trust in that. It's really ironic, real quick, that in my profession as a therapist, I speak to people about this, about, in recovery about, and I use this example of, like, hey, if you had heart problems and you go to the heart surgeon and the heart surgeon tells you that after examination that you need to have, like Amber was saying, hey, you need to start taking some medication or you need to start making some changes, and you don't want to hear that. But the thing of it is that you would never know that if you didn't go to that person that knows more about your heart and all that stuff. This is an expert that works in this, that does this. Just like when you guys want to go to the OBYG, GN, someone that has studied this for a long period of time. So they'll be able to tell us some things about ourselves that we don't know. And that's valuable information. And so it's important that we do that. So again, I use the quick analogy of telling them, because a lot of people don't want to have faith in someone other than themselves. They want to self-diagnose and self-medicate. So I say to them, I'll say, hey, when you go to and that's an analogy about the heart surgeon, does the heart surgeon have to have had the same problems or issues that you might be having in order for you to trust them? Or do you ask them that? And the answer is no, most of the times. No, they don't, because you trust because of the person's proposed reputation or whatever. But we just sometimes we get into this thing, this cognitive distortion of that we can trust ourselves more than we can trust someone else that has more knowledge about something than us, and that's very dangerous. So I'll just let that. So I want you to get checked out to and trust that you don't know everything about yourself, and just those surface symptoms of I feel good and I'm okay, that's not enough, especially as we get older.
Okay, I have something to say real fast. Every one of us is older than what we were yesterday. Okay.
Yay, thankfully.
Thank you, everybody. So if any of our children had said, oh, I want to go to medical school, they went to medical school, you would be so proud of them because they went to medical school. My son, my daughter is a medical professional, a doctor or whatever. But I don't trust doctors. I'm proud of my child, being a doctor, but I don't trust doctors, okay? Because they're going to tell me something I don't want to hear and I don't trust. How much sense does that make? Make that make sense. That you would be proud of not just your son or daughter, any of your relatives who went into the medical field, but you don't trust doctors. So that's a contradiction right there, that you have to think about. Yeah, I'm getting on my sister. That's why she made that comment, because I'm always getting on her to go and check. Why are you spending that money and giving that money to people, but are you waiting for yourself to be sick? But I'm not beating up on you because I love you. But you said, I know my sister gonna have something to say. So your sister got something to say. I want you to check because you're a human being just like all the rest of us.
Yeah.
So when you go, Amber, and they tell you you're okay, then you'll feel better. They may say, just drink more water. So that's a chance that you're going to take too, that they're going to say, hey, pretty good, drink more water. It could be so then you'll feel better. So that's a chance too, a greater chance that you're going to be okay.
Right. Especially since you changed, because you didn't used to drink water. This is a person, I don't like the taste of water.
I still don't care. I don't care for it now, but I make myself.
And that's because you're a human being.
Yeah.
Good for you, Amber. I am challenged too when it comes to water. And I applaud you for being transparent, but I'll drink tequila, I'll drink coffee. But I'm slow with water. And I have to remember I gotta drink the water so I can drink the tequila.
Right. Thank you, Myrtle. It's human, right? We was talking about being human. So that's human.
We all got something.
We're out at my son's track meet yesterday, knowing I should have been drinking water. Last night I'm sleeping, I get a cramp in my leg because I didn't drink enough water. So,
and here's a tip for cramps too, just in case you want to know. Take a tablespoon of mustard.
Really?
Try it.
Okay.
Think about, if you Google what's in mustard, you'll understand other things that's in it. So that's just a tip. But drinking the water.
For sharing. Okay.
Yep. Resources.
Back to my beautiful aunt. So Amber, another thing too is that, like piggybacking on what Audrey said, is that if you're not, like I go to the doctor, I have checkups and all this kind of stuff. But one of the things that I've learned is that if I'm not experiencing any symptoms of anything, that is a good sign. Like they say, like, hey, if you're experiencing some severe pain or something that's not going away, then that is a sign that something is going on. So like Audrey said, that possibly that you are absolutely correct and that your health is pretty good. You just want to get that confirmed and not just be up in the air about it, unsure about it. You see what I'm saying? So you're not having any severe headaches and all that, and all that time that you didn't drink a lot of water, but now you're drinking a lot more. You're probably, you're doing good. So you want to just get that confirmed and validated so that you can just keep doing that. Absolutely.
All right.
Good deal. We're gonna move on to our last bullet topic for our forum discussion, and it is talked about grocery. Oops, sorry, y'all. I think I went back too far. Hold on. 3, 4, there we are. Politics,
Ah,
physical and mental health. I just want to read this last one. Participants who experience more politics related negative emotions reported worse day to day. However, psychological and physical health on average, but they also reported greater motivation to act on political causes by doing things such as volunteering or donating money. So I wanted to show how the stress, but also how it can relate to us being conscious of different things. But as we know, politics, seeing it every day over the last 4 or 5 years, things that have been happening can cause sorry, y'all, can cause our emotional wellness to be off. So just kind of want to end with that. I know that I do not watch as much as I used to, although I still try to stay abreast of what's going on with other resources. I don't watch it like a CNN as much as I used to or whatever, but I do find other resources, and I'm particular about my resources. So because I feel like CNN may be biased on certain things or people may be biased, I look for resources that I know that I'm comfortable with, not just, maybe saying great things about our president, but don't hold him accountable on other things. For me, I'm the type of person that I wanna be involved in our political action, because sometimes people will say, I don't do politics, but if you don't do politics, politics will do you, because politics are in our schools. If you got to know who we're electing to our school boards, to our local grocery stores, churches, all those things play a part in the politics. I know sometimes people think of politics as big as the president and things like that, but our local government is very important. Although it can be, tiresome on our mental, I think we need to take it. For me, I take it in doses, and then I look at where I find my resources from. So
okay.
I'll pause there.
Oh, I don't watch the news. Like, I got caught up in that whole Trump thing, and I was watching it, and so when I sat down and thought about it, I was more watching about Trump than I was about real politics, but politics in there. And so I've gotten away from, watching MSNBC. And then my son was saying that he watches Fox News too, just to see what the opposite is saying, and he keeps up with it. He watches Joy and all the rest of them. I used to watch Don Lemon and stuff. But is that politics? That's watching those people, and listening to their talking points. But I agree with you about people saying, that they don't do politics, but everything about life in America, that's all I can talk about, is about politics. It's about politics, whether you go and vote or whatever you do. We are redlined, not just Black people, but if you live in a certain area that has been redlined for people to live in, there are less resources in those areas where you live, and you're saying, basically, I don't care that we don't get the resources that other people do, because they stay involved in politics and they know stuff and they advocate for stuff. I'm just gonna be comfortable in a rut. I'm gonna be comfortable in a rut, or I'm all right with the way things are, and I don't care about what affects me as an individual. And it don't just affect you, it affects people you say you love. Politics affects people that you say you love, but you don't do politics. So I don't know. I just vote. I'm gonna be honest, I don't volunteer. I have, but I don't anymore, so that's my contribution. I will vote. Okay, I will do that. And I'll put a sign in my yard for you, I have donated money. I don't do that anymore. but you know, that's just my and I support people who run for politics. When Audrey was running, I
Mhm.
supported her in that, you know, so I did what I could. So
Mhm.
for a person to be adult and say that they don't do politics, to me, that's a level of ignorance, because they don't really understand how things work.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I'll go
Go,
last.
Xavier.
No, I'll go last.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Yeah.
I also try to stay as in tuned as I can mentally tolerate and
Right.
deal with. But I'm recently also learning that there are there's nuances within my industry that I can also get involved in
Mhm.
to be politically savvy. Matter of fact, who our new governor,
Katie
she just
Hobbs.
she just pulled oh, I can see this lady. She just pulled a realtor to be a part of
Oh,
her commission, her board.
mhm.
I'm not
I
exactly
saw
sure
that
what,
too.
yeah,
Oh,
what the
wow.
actual responsibility is or what the title is. The
Go.
lady's name is Susan, but I can't think of Susan's last name. But Susan got pulled because she's been involved in lots of different committees and directorships and all of that within real estate. And so I'm actually in a class right now where I'm learning, it's called a leadership class, but we're learning about all of those different nuances. You can be on a committee at ARMLS, all of these places. So, you know, it might not be something that I thought about when I was getting into the industry, but
Mhm.
there's always an opportunity to have your voice heard, to hear others, so you can make an educated decision. And then the last thing that I'm going to say is we really do need to have a seat at the table. And I say we, whether you look at me double as a Black female, but we do need to have a seat at the table. And that also encourages others to see and be able to relate, because there's a Black female that's there. They'll take their time to volunteer to listen, become a part of these committees. But in order to see change, you got to get involved. You have to.
Thank you for that. Yeah, and it's politics are in, you know, as you talked about real estate, these, you know, absorbent loans, and how do we get, you know, our interest rates. So infrastructure, the roads we drive on, all of that is political.
Yep. Yeah.
So I'll just
All the
take
way down to putting an open house sign out. You can only have in one city, I think you can only have 5 out. And you know, we like to put as many out as we can, because that's the point, is to get people to come in. But some cities you might only be able to have 5 of them out. So there's lots of nuances.
Go ahead, Amber.
Yeah. So I'll just take a couple of minutes, okay? Politics depress me, and depression is not part of my emotional get down. So I was gonna, I know they're spending a lot of money. It's easy for them to give money to other countries. And Miss Hobbs did sign the Crown Act. Shall we all be so happy?
Yeah, we saw that. Yeah,
we saw that.
Yeah. So I'm not going to give up on voting. I like the way that my family, we have our little round table when the local elections. I did not vote the last local election. It was something I just kind of had an attitude, and it's like, well, if someone were to ask me right now, it's like, well, what do you want the politicians to do for you? Me personally, hell, I don't know. I'd lower food prices, so I know it affects me, I'm not going to give up on voting.
That's a real emotion.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a good point, Amber. It is depression in politics. I think we saw it. I think January 6th showed us, a depression. It's just like, this is, when did we see this? But that is part of why I ran too, because I didn't know anything so much about running for a political office, but I thought to myself, what can I do? I know I can sit here and complain. I can sit here and say what I don't like, but I decided to say, well, what if I run and put myself in a position as not a politician, but as a community advocate, as a human service advocate, and look at it from that point of view of what I can do and what I can learn. And like you said, Myrtle, having a seat at the table, I'm all about having a seat at the table, and I'm all about building my own table, because I'm not going to beg you to have a seat at the table. I'll just build my own table over here, and we build our own fortress to get it done, because we do want to have a seat at the table, but a lot of times when we do have a seat at the table, speaking from a Black woman just in corporate America or going to director level meetings, sometimes they want to hush your voice. And it's like, you want me here to say we have a Black woman here, but you don't necessarily want to hear my voice. So therefore, this table may not be right for me. I'm going to go build my own table with my own team. So that's kind of how I think about it as well. But to make it happen. But I know that it's real. And thank you, Amber, for saying that you're not giving up on voting, because we really can't. We just can't give up on voting. I think we just need to be strategic on what we do and come together and hold people accountable. And I'll say this, and I'll let Xavier jump in. I wasn't, just to kind of comment a little bit, I wasn't no big Biden fan. That wasn't my person who I wanted to win, but he was better than this person. So it's like, get him in and hold his behind accountable. Don't get off of his neck on stuff that we want him to do. And since he ain't doing it, then you got to go and bring in the next one. And I think that's why I was a little upset with the ice cubes. And then when they were coming for the Black agenda, you're coming too late. Where is Ice Cube and them at right now? We need to be formulating stuff for the next election. Don't come two months before election time and start talking about, let's get a Black agenda. Because I don't hear him now. He's mute to me now. Where are you at now? You're going to come in on, with the next election. So to me, it's about strategy and just being, purposeful in what we do in politics.
Can I say one thing before you come on, Ye?
Sure.
Having a seat at the table, you know what that does? And I think why some of us move away from that, having a seat at the table means being responsible. And maybe you don't want responsibility, so you don't gravitate toward having a seat at the table. And I believe that there are people who, they want changes, but they don't want the responsibility of helping to create those changes. Let somebody else do it. I'll even vote for you to do it, but I don't want the responsibility of participating in it. That's part of it. It's not the whole thing. It's part of what Amber was saying, what you were saying, but there's another side too. Is, do people want the responsibility? Because I know when I was working, positions would come up, and I knew I didn't want the responsibility. I just didn't want the responsibility, but that was me moving from, I could have been at the table, but I just didn't want that responsibility. And sometimes that's laziness, and sometimes that's deal with our emotions, our emotional wellness. I don't know.
All right. Well, good thing said. So I'll just cap it off with, I would agree with the following politics can be depressing. All the different things that's going on from day to day. You never know what's going to happen when you listen to it, or you read about it, or you watch it on the news. And so there was a particular time where I was me and Audrey both was captivated and watching a lot of it. And our goal was, like most everybody else, is to stay abreast, like she said, about what's going on. But at a certain point, you realize you come to your own individual understanding, I believe, of what it's doing to you as an individual. And then also you have your own lives and things to do and things to take care of. So it just doesn't allow you to stay caught up with it if you're attentive to the other things that's going on in your life. So then at a certain point, you have, you just break away from it because of just obligation and responsibility, that other things that you have and that you take on. Um, I like my wife. I like to stay abreast of what's going on, but I don't feel the need now. I think I've elevated in that I don't need to just be immersed in it, on a daily basis in order to know what's going on. I would just say that personally, I want to become more educated and empowered about understanding about about politics, or about like whether it's on the city, state, government level, to have a better understanding of that. So reading, listening to a little bit of the things that's going on in the news. I like to listen to a lot of grassroots folks talk about things that need to, things that could better the community, the state, the nation, the culture, and get ideas from that, especially people that are in some cases younger than myself. Sometimes that they bring new and fresh ideas and things like that. Not that I agree with everything that other people say, but I can take bits and pieces from a lot of different sources, and it can help me to compile, my own agenda, and and what I believe in, what I don't believe in. And then finally, like some of you said, Mom, you made a good point. Sometimes there's leaders and followers. Not everybody can be a leader. Some people, and that's okay if you recognize in yourself that you don't, you're not cut out, or you're not willing to you committed to being the person that's leading the pack and doing things, but you'll support the way, you'll support the effort. Then I think there's good in that, because you need support, and not everybody can lead. So because a lot of support goes a long way than no support.
Right.
Yeah. And then so and then other thing I was going to say is that so I try to get my influence, becoming more educated, empowered, and then getting involved. I had put my name in the hat for the homeowners association, to get on the board. I didn't make it this time, but that's okay. It's just a start. I'm not going to give up on that. Like Amber said, I'm not going to give up on just getting involved in something myself. And my wife, she's being instrumental in assisting me and getting me into a city human services board or commission or something like that. So to actually do something and be involved in something myself, and versus just strictly listening to other people doing things or talking about doing things, and be involved in something myself. And so making some commitment of time and effort to do that. I think all that for me, sum total, will be beneficial to me and for those that I may be able to help.
Yeah, that's civics.
Mm-hmm.
That really is civics. That's why I always say, if we get civics starting from elementary all the way to high school, we wouldn't have to wait until we're your age or younger to start, really paying attention to politics, because we got civics from elementary all the way up to high school. Not wait till you get to high school and then you have one class of civics. Civics will help you understand politics, and it can be done at elementary all the way up to high school, all the way up to, but we don't get it like that. So that could be one thing that we advocate, is civics at a younger age. And it can be done. Teachers can write lesson plans that will inform kids of their civic responsibilities. That's what it is, because I don't think I ever got civics when I was in high school. And then if you're not around people who are involved in any kind of community work, they're not involved in it at all, you don't even think about it. You don't, it's not part of your life. It's other people that do that. But we have a public school system that does not teach civics at a young age, where kids can grow up knowing what their civic responsibility is and feeling a part of a community. not wait till you get grown and in your 40s and 50s. And now you are saying, you know, I want to know more about this, but you could have known about it, but the system is not set up for us to know, for the regular person to know. It's set up so you don't know. And people who go in the way the system is, less people voting, just what we want. We
But
don't
that's
want
part
all these people voting. Okay, we don't want you knowing all about civics either. That's why it's not taught in elementary, middle school, and you might get it, a class of it in high school, because we don't want you to know. We want you to be ignorant about it and just be repeating talking points.
But that's part of school board. That's part of holding your school board accountable. That's a part of each, and I would task each of us to attend a city council meeting. That is where you learn about what's going on, because even when the pandemic came, they turned it on to that you can Zoom in, you can virtually attend your city council meeting. You'll know who's on your city council. You'll know what agenda is coming up. But I'll tell you, it's a group of people who are not infiltrating school boards. Because they want things out. So if we let all those people get into our school boards and say, hey, we don't want this talk, we don't want this talk, we don't want this talk, that's what happened. But if we want civics, we can come together as a community and say, hey, we want this petition. It's a way to go through it and say, hey, we want civics taught at the junior high level. And then we make a plan to do that. But that is a school board activity where we can, push for that. Go ahead, Xavier.
One last thing, back to that is that I think you hit a good point about, like in Florida, where they're having these laws they're passing about not teaching certain things in school. I think that, that's one option, one strategy, like Audrey's suggesting, to go to school boards and try to be more involved in all of that process. But I think the other part, just like I remember growing up, with my mom taking us to different things, and as a youngster, doing things as parents, as uncles and aunts, and not depending on school to educate, to make open our eyes up to younger folks, open our eyes up to civics and to cultural, political, activist type of opportunities. I think more people seeing it and growing up around it, like things like when I grew up, my mother took us to things, and we saw things and we heard things. And so that was more ingrained in me than I did have a civics class in school. I probably barely passed it or anything like that, because it didn't mean the same thing to me. It meant more to me personally, the things that I saw, the meetings, the Black Panthers, the this, the that, all those different things that I actually saw and heard had more of an influence on me than just the learning in school. But I'm not discounting that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's together, right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
So that's like mentorship. So that I think that's a good point. I think that's something that maybe as we get ready to close, as one of the topics that we can follow up on for mental wellness for others is mentorship. So that if it's not being taught, what are we doing about it to make sure that our nieces, nephews, grandkids, or kids in the community are doing it, and not wait? Because if we keep waiting for somebody else to do it, it may not ever happen.
It's a combination of the two. What's going on in school and what's going on in your home.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a combination. Right.
Go ahead, Audrey.
Oh no, I was just saying, that was good conversation. We can wrap up, we can
I
wrap up.
enjoyed that. Yeah, good conversation.
Good conversation. So thank you for the input. Myrtle, we'll follow back up with you to get on the calendar to do that, some homeowner stuff, or some 101 stuff, buying a house 101 type of, things that we could do to be proactive. I think that would be very important. So we appreciate everybody for taking out the time, and stay tuned for our next one. And everybody have a great Saturday afternoon. Drink water. Be safe.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
And get your doctor.